Welcome to Conversations Live. For more than a decade, we've brought you the best in books, entertainment, celebrity interviews, and current events. When the movers and shakers of the world have something to say to you, they say it to us first. Here's your host, Cyrus Webb.
Welcome back, everyone, to Conversations Live. I'm your host, Cyrus Webb. Glad you all could join us once again. But for our radio audience here in Mississippi at WYAD 94.1 FM and WYADonline.com, we're glad that you all could be with us. Also, tuning into our online affiliates around the world, including our friends at iHeartRadio and Amazon Music Podcast. We're glad you all could be with us, too. We're excited to welcome back Bestselling author Karin Slaughter to our program today. She's celebrating not only a great year with pieces of her book that we had a chance to talk about on this program, being a series on Netflix, but also she has a new book. It's called Girl Forgotten. We'll talk to Karin not only about her amazing success, but also about the new book. Karin, welcome back to the program. Glad to speak with you again.
Thank you. I'm glad to be here.
So you're having quite the year, Karin, which is kind of become the thing for you. I mean, not only do you continue to give us great books, but let's just talk about this year. What has it been like for you to see the way that people are responding to the series on Netflix?
The response has been so amazing and so rewarding. I mean, anytime you're an author and you hand your book over to a creative team and say, here, do with it what you will, it's a big leap of faith. But the people involved really understood the story. They got who the characters were. And then Toni Collette was just the cherry on top. She's so amazing. I know that as a person who loves to binge shows, if Toni Collette is in it, I'm an automatic watch. And so she does not disappoint in this. I was really happy with the entire process.
And again, your storytelling, I mean, Karin, I've said to you several times now, I've been a big fan of yours now for years, and your fan base continues to grow. And even with a book like Girl Forgotten, I mean, you give us those elements that we've come to know from you. You're not afraid to give us these dark characters, but also to be able to show us the best of humanity as well. So let's talk about Girl Forgotten for a second. I mean, what has this experience been like for you to give us this cast of characters that kind of show us, I think, the best of us, but also what can be the worst of us too?
One of the themes I think that I explore in the book is a lot of us don't change from high school. And so I start with a young girl in the 1980s, and she is on her way to go to the senior prom. And she's been canceled at high school. We generally think of canceled in modern terms through the Internet, but girls who went to high school know someone always gets canceled in high school, and unfortunately, Emily Vaughn is the person in her school. She was inside this little clique that she was a part of from kindergarten, and she's done something to transgress societal norms, and so she's pushed out. And unfortunately, she's punished for that. She's the victim of a brutal attack that leads to her death. And then we catch up with her case, 40 years later, through Andrea Oliver, who's from Pieces of Her. Andrea is a newly minted U.S. Marshal who has an ulterior motive for looking into Emily's cold case.
And I think, again, that is what, I mean, you and I talked about before, Karin, about how you've been able to, really show the role of law enforcement, but also I think the layers reminding us of their humanity as well. I love the fact in Girl Forgotten that we do have not only, of course, this search for truth, but also this search for right. And that moral compass shows up in a lot of your work, and some people have it more than others. Is it also part of the fun for you to kind of play on, as I was saying earlier, how there is definitely good people in the world, but there are also some people that are not so good?
Exactly, and it is something that I explore in my books, particularly because I write about police officers. And we all would like to think that when they put on a badge, that means they're a good person. But sometimes we found out the hard way that they're not necessarily doing the right thing for people. And Andrea is a new marshal, and she has a choice about the kind of marshal she wants to be. And she gets a lot of advice from a mentor she's assigned to. His name is Leonard Bible. He's been around the block a few times, and he's been a marshal for 20 years. So he knows the ins and outs, and he gives her some guidance about the right way to do the job and how to stay on the right side of the law. And I think it's really important that anyone have that kind of mentor who tries to teach them the right way to do things, but particularly when we're talking about having the awesome power of being able to deprive someone of their liberty. We want those officers to be doing it for the right reasons.
Yeah. And as you have done before, Karin, even when it comes to your heroes, you're not afraid to put them in some bad situations. And you've done that with Andrea, even with Girl Forgotten as well. I want to talk about your beginnings. I thought about this as I was prepping for this segment with you today, Karin. Could you have imagined when this all began with you as a storyteller with your very first book that you would be someone that literally readers around the world would want to be able to read and enjoy?
Oh, I had no idea. You know, my goal was to have my local independent bookstore that I loved and went in as often as possible have a copy of my book. And then, you know, if they had a copy, hopefully someone would buy it and they would put a new copy in its place. I never thought beyond that. So it came as quite a surprise to know how robust translation market was and that there are so many different aspects of publishing as a business that I never anticipated. But it's been a fascinating journey learning about those and, of course, getting to travel to all different countries where my books are sold and tour there and talk to readers. But I will tell you one thing that's universal, whether I'm in Singapore or New Zealand or Finland, is that people love reading crime novels. And I am also a person who loves to read crime novels. So some of my best recommendations have come from being in libraries and bookstores around the world and talking to other readers.
Yeah. The last thing I want to mention is another thing that's kind of evolved through your career that I see you taking advantage of, and we have to have one of these days, Karin, is social media, namely the way you've been using lives. I love watching your IG lives when you're going live, doing interviews. I feel a little jealous sometimes, but we'll work on getting one with this. But what has that been like for you to explore that world? You mentioned the in-person element, but what has the online element been like for you?
Well, you know, I'm very introverted, so I thought that it would be super simple to go to virtual. And other than being able to wear my pajamas while I do it, there have been some real downsides. I miss that interaction with people in a three-dimensional world. And I'm really pleased that I'm going to be touring with this book in the United States for the first time since 2020, January of 2020. I'm going to be out there going to different towns and seeing my readers again, and I'm very much looking forward to doing that because I did miss it.
Yeah. Well, I know they look forward to seeing you as well, but in the meantime, I want you guys to pick up your copy of Girl Forgotten, the newest bestseller from Karin Slaughter. It's available through our friends at Amazon.com or through your favorite local bookstore, so make sure you guys pick up your copy. Karin, let them know how they can stay connected with you.
Yeah, thank you, and I hope people enjoy reading the book.
And we definitely thank our audience for tuning in to another great segment of Conversations Live. Until next time, I'm your host, Cyrus Webb, saying as always, enjoy your day, enjoy your life, enjoy your world. Thank you all for choosing Conversations Live, and let's go make today amazing. Take care.